Call to order for the EDC meeting for Wednesday, June 22nd. The first item on the agenda is the review of the minutes and approval of minutes from the April 27th meeting. The minutes were attached to the agenda. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to read through them. Any additions, changes, or edits? If not, do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the April 27th meeting?
Motion approved.
Ron approves. Second.
Second.
Tom, all in favor? Raise your hands. That'd be great. Okay, it's still approved.
Aye.
So the first item on the agenda is the inaugural presentation from George McGregor, our new planning director, on the development update. So, and he was so excited about this presentation. He showed up with a tie on and everything, and makes it very formal. And so we're delighted to have him. So George, I'll turn it over to you and let you walk through the slide deck.
Thanks, Bob. I do find Simsbury to be very casual in terms of our approach. So I don't know. Every once in a while, I like to put a tie on.
Well, it looks good. It looks very good. I mean, the rest of us are all, our sweatshirts. Tom's got his Westminster shirt on and everything.
Right. Okay, well, thanks. So, I went back through trying to figure out where maybe you got your last update, but I mean, essentially, let's just start from here. I think that might be the best way, and we'll go forward. And I'm always I'd always be interested in kind of getting a sense of what also you might like to know about or hear about, or any kind of data or issues that I'm dealing with in the office. I'm happy to share that. But so today I'm just going to kind of hit you with what we came up with internally here in terms of probably worthy of just giving you an update and letting you know what's the activity we've seen, and remind you of kind of the major projects that are ongoing or about to be ongoing. So with that, I'm going to share my screen. If you don't mind, I'll kill you with a slide deck here.
Melissa's got the, here we go.
Okay, how's that? Everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, so let's just start with the numbers a little bit. Just to we tried to just pull some data from permit generation over the last several years. These are total planning department fees, but obviously the bulk of those fees are centered on building permit valuation. There's obviously some zoning money in there and other applications and fees, but by and large, this is kind of what we've seen over the last 5 years. FY 21-22 is numbers through permit numbers through April, and again, this is not valuation. This is fee generation.
So this implies that, I mean, with a fiscal year ending June 30th, that you expect the fees to be down. So we've been through a lot of development over the last several years. So we're kind of winding through all that. Is that what this says? I've done this in other places, and I always, these numbers kind of do go up and down. When you get the one big project that's generating a very heavy footprinted fee structure, it happens. I mean, I was looking at the total permits, and I haven't really kind of absorbed that. But I think in terms of total number of permits, I mean, I think we're been fairly consistent, numerically. I just don't think that we've had those big, huge projects. But yeah, let's just walk through, and it might be helpful to kind of see what.
We had the solar farm going a couple of years ago. I think that might be 2021, Maria. That was probably the big one that year.
Yeah, good memory, Ron. So that actually, if you can believe it already, I believe that check came in April of 2019, and it was over $400,000. So that 1.2 million number in fiscal 18-19, over 400,000 of that was just the Tobacco Valley solar project. So to George's point, we do every once in a while get these very large scale projects, and the size of the permitting fee is quite substantial.
I mean, from the activity, since I've been here with staff, and maybe it's because we're a little bit short-staffed, but we are certainly not slow in terms of inspection activity.
Okay. and just general activity, I think. So I didn't intend it this way, but it is gonna kind of seem like a tour from south to north, but it's just kind of how it came up. So Talcott Mountain self-storage, if you haven't been past it, it's on 34 Hop Meadow, really just as you get into town from Avon. 55,000 square feet of storage units. And I was trying to figure out exactly the total number of storage units, but it looks like they've kind of gone back and forth on the size differential there. So several hundred storage units for sure on that footprint, and it's actively underway. So I'll show you a copy of the site plan, the site layout, and active conditions from late last week. Ridge at Talcott Mountain continues to build out. The residential total number of units is almost complete. They're significantly built out here. So this was 299 multifamily residential units. They are at 269 units, about 31 remaining. They have completed the first shell building. If you remember the site plan, that you've got 2 shell buildings at the entrance that are designed to be commercial buildings, and they have just started the second 8,800 square foot commercial shell at the entrance.
George, any sense of what the occupancy is of those units that are completed?
A waiting list.
Commercial
Really?
or zero?
They are, effectively, I understand the vacancy rate is 0.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's terrific.
Yeah. I mean, it may be a percentage or two, but they,
Okay.
from talking to the developer indicated that they are waiting to get occupancy because they've got folks to move in for these remaining units.
That's good. That's great. Thanks.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think that is good. That's you don't have to talk about it tonight, but obviously the how should I say this? Just the veracity of success that folks are having on the multifamily. That marketplace is so hot right now.
Yeah.
That is, I suspect we'll continue to see development pressure related to multifamily units in town.
Good. Thank you.
Mr. Volkswagen, of course, we know that is now open. Just opened maybe 2 weeks ago now. Great kind of modern design and renovation to that. To that former, I guess it was what was it, a Jeep, whatever it was previous to this.
Dodge.
Dodge.
It was a Dodge dealership.
I knew it was a. So
they moved to Avon so they could get Jeep.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So some actually, the interior is nice. We went and visited the other day. Several of us, including Maria and Tom and Bob. But nice little neon touches. So I think it's just a fabulous addition, and that's at 416 Hop Meadow. We kind of come up up Hop Meadow a little bit, 828 Hop Meadow, which is Andy Center Shops, of course, but UConn Health is building out about 12,000 square feet for medical offices.
Wow.
That is obviously a significant addition to that piece of property in the center of town.
When do they expect to move in?
And I think they're actively going. I think by the end of the summer is what I understand.
Great.
Maybe fall, but we just saw their sign package come in, so I think they're kind of moving quickly there, and that's again that takes really the balance of that space, I think, in there, at least certainly on the street front.
That'll be a nice addition.
Yeah, I think so. So we're really waiting for the start of the Barber Cove residential project, the multifamily residential project that was really approved with a amendment, late last year, and obviously the original approval was a year or two ago. But 175 multifamily residential units. It hasn't started yet, but I think we anticipate start, soon, without being specific.
You know what is the holdup at the state level, or is a holdup at our end?
No, they're certainly not on our end. I think they resolved the DEP issue at least, but I don't believe the holdup is on our end.
Okay, thank you.
Iron Horse, the Iron Horse Inn, the old Iron Horse Inn, 25 apartment units. They are again, actively in renovations. I'm not exactly sure what their end date is, but I went out there to the site the other day, and there's tons of folks out there doing windows and interior renovations and working on the roof, in fact. So. McLean, and just a wonderful addition to that site. I was up there the other day doing a preliminary walkthrough for that large 54 residential unit addition on their campus. It's got, it's really sited nicely. The architecture is great. The grounds are great. They'll be looking for occupancy next week, I understand. With an effort to move in those 54 residential units over the summer.
Oh, great. Yeah, that is a beautiful facility. That came out terrific.
Yeah, really, we should all be pleased with that. It just,
yeah,
it looks great. Tractor Supply really are, I think since maybe your last update, really the only kind of standalone retail pad site that we have had in town. Open, obviously, just under 20,000 square feet in the main building there, and about a 13,000 square foot outdoor display area up at 1603 Hop Meadow. So open and active. And I just, sometimes I think we forget about the full economic development picture, and just wanted to remind that we do have small businesses, and small businesses are often so critical to our community and economic development. So just wanted to mention a couple that have come through the office over the last couple of weeks to several months. A couple at Simsbury Square, the Groomingdales is a pet grooming, and of course Le Bon Patisserie, which is an amazing bakery. The Mexican restaurant at Andy's Shops, La Jolla, seems to be quite popular. Mm-hmm. Clean Juice up, on the north end of town, the North Village. We've got a Spoonful of Britain that just opened up maybe 10 days ago or 2 weeks on Railroad Street. And then we do have a new bookshop that will be opening up. It's at 100 Grist Mill, trying to open up with a fall opening. So that's the only one that's kind of coming soon. And again, this is not intended to be all inclusive. I apologize if I've missed someone on this, but just wanted to give you a flavor that we are of course are seeing some small business startups. There was
it was a lovely, very positive article on the Spoonful of Britain in the Hartford Current today.
I didn't see it. Great.
Yeah. Anxious to check it out.
So the only one kind of future project that is on the horizon that is fairly public since they asked to go in front of the design review board for a preliminary look. So I thought I would at least reveal kind of a significant project, about a 25,000 square foot new dormitory, 35 dormitory units. I think they're kind of split between single occupancy and double occupancy at the Ethel Walker School. It's going to be located kind of on that same hillside where they've got their dorms between the Cluett dorm and what they call the new dorm. I guess they're going to need a new name for that other dorm because now they'll have another new dorm. And so architecture is a little bit different than the two previous the two previous ones, and so I think it'll be a good addition. I expect that they will file for the site plan process in the coming days, in fact. I thought I would throw in a slide just to remind you, obviously my world is so heavily on the land use commission activity stuff, and they certainly are involved in things that affect the economic development climate in the community and in town. So I just wanted to remind you that the Planning Commission is going to start work, or really has started work, but about to really start work on some select updates to the plan of conservation and development. They're going to look at open space policy. They would like to look again at affordable housing, just to make sure that that the policies that we adopted in 2017 kind of mesh as affordable housing gets more critical and more dynamic and more interesting to lots of different community members and advocacy groups. We'll just make sure that we have the right approach to it locally. And like they're also interested maybe looking a little bit further at how we review the fiscal impacts of developments, particularly residential developments, on town services. I'm not sure we've got probably deep enough policy when it comes to that approach. I'm not exactly sure how that ends, what that outcome is, but I do think that the Planning Commission would like to just have a better sense of, are we analyzing development projects for their impact on town services? And then there's some other language revisions that are generated because of changes in state law. Zoning Commission is obviously busy on their typical caseload of reviewing and improving projects, but obviously, if you've been paying attention at all, we spend a lot of time on revisions to the accessory dwelling unit ordinance. Again, I think they're trying to match what came out under state law, and I think we've done a pretty good job of that. And that will go to a public hearing at the end of July. We have begun discussion and revisions to all three zoning ordinances related to cannabis establishments. If you recall, we've got a moratorium on cannabis that goes through November 8th of 22. So the direction is to draft language to permit cannabis establishments, both retail and kind of retail cultivators and retail processing as well. So we have not put pen to paper. We will do that for their July 18th meeting, and so that'll be the first time we'll try to put beginnings of a draft ordinance to see where and how and why we're going to support these types of uses in the community. And then we kind of put the sign ordinance review on hold. They had done a bunch of work before I got here. I think we need to revisit where we are on that. It may be almost a starting from scratch scenario. But again, sign ordinances and sign permissibility is very important to local businesses. If there's one thing I've learned in all my years, how important local businesses rely on signs and their ability to advertise and do those kinds of things. So those are on both the Planning Commission and the Zoning Commission's agenda over the next couple of months as we go through the summer. And then finally, I wanted to mention, some of you were with me on some of these tours, but we have done, since I've gotten here, since I arrived, a number of, up to 8, 10, 12, 13 individual visits with local businesses, large and small. Bob has been, Bob and Melissa and Maria and Tom have all been on these visits. And so just wanted to give you an idea that we continue to do this, and it's good for me to do as I come to town and kind of get a sense of the community and who's here and what their needs are and their concerns are. And look forward to doing more of that as the days and months go by.
George, did you get a sense from those visits a common denominator, problems, relationships with Simsbury? You're new here and visiting all these companies, very, very wide variety of types of companies.
So my sense is the concerns, if you want to put the concerns column, are more global concerns about their workers and transportation access and housing affordability. No real critical concerns about the town relationship or going through the process. And of course, always want to hear that kind of stuff. We want to fix the process, the permit process and the inspection process if we need to fix those kinds of things to make it more efficient and more clear and transparent. But no, my sense is it is more about kind of the global framework of the world. How do I attract good talent? Where do they live? Such that it's we can continue to keep and hone good local talent and attract talent. So
thanks.
Good, thanks.
So that's it. I'm happy to take questions, but that's my presentation.
George, one other thing, what is moving into Andy's Plaza? I didn't catch that.
Medical offices, Yukon Health.
Okay, medical offices.
Yeah, and I went back to the file. I wasn't exactly sure I could glean the type of office. I think somebody knows what type of offices that is. Somebody probably on this call knows. But I didn't think it's about 12,000 square feet. It looks like.
Yeah, it's not an urgent care center. It's just office.
I'm not actually sure even.
Okay,
Yeah.
just curious. That's actually great news because that space has been open for quite some time, and La Jolla's has been very, very successful, as you mentioned, and but it looks a little lonely there.
It's not urgent care unless they're adding something on to what they're currently doing, because right now they're at where our office is, the Chamber of Commerce, and the visitor center is located. So we're going to miss them at 720. Now we're going to be lonely. We need to fill that spot over here.
Right.
Okay.
Well, 12,000 feet is, I think, too big to be just urgent care. That's a pretty good sized facility. Urgent cares are more in the 5,000-6,000 square foot.
Oh, okay. Good to know. Thanks. Any other questions?
Are they using the whole space? The full 12,000?
That's my understanding from the build out. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. George, thank you very much.
You're more than welcome.
Very helpful.
Happy to come anytime.
Okay, so moving down the agenda for stakeholders liaison updates. I got an email from Sarah that she won't be able to join us tonight, so no updates from the Main Street Partnership. Morgan, an update from the chamber?
Sure, thank you. And I just wanted to apologize. I had missed a couple of these meetings, and the schedule has been hectic, and I'm so excited to be back on these calls because I just think they're so useful to all staying on the same page and hearing what's going on in the area.
Yep, thanks.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So the Granby Simsbury merger of the Chambers of Commerce is finally official and underway. So June 1 was our official start date as a merged organization, which brought us up to almost 500 members regionally. Wow. Which is fantastic. It's very exciting. And we have continued to see membership grow. We're around 7 new members a month. And again, that's businesses in Simsbury, Granby, but also surrounding areas. We have, several members from West Hartford, Bloomfield, Avon, Canton, all of those areas. But we're definitely focused on the Farmington Valley, Simsbury, and Granby as our focal point. In terms of some past ribbon cuttings that we've done, several of them were in George's report, or rather presentation. We did the ribbon cutting for Tractor Supply, which is a new member. They're thrilled to be in Simsbury. The manager over there, Angelica, is wonderful, and she's local. And I believe it's her daughter that manages Horses and Hounds. So it's a really nice relationship there. We did the ribbon cutting for the Mitchell VW dealership, and just to echo George's thoughts, it's such a beautiful space. The renovations they did are just top notch. It's gorgeous over there. So if you haven't visited, I encourage you to go over there. And I did, take a seat in one of the Atlas SUVs. So as soon as I'm done getting a new house, that's next on my target. We'll see. I've got my list of things to do for the next 10 years now. We did the ribbon cutting for Spoonful of Britain. We've got co-owners over there, Natalie Brown and Carly Kidd, and they're just phenomenal pair over there. Really interesting things that they have in that shop, and I think they're going to do really well. Le Ben is a new member, patisserie. We have not done the ribbon cutting yet. They're still working on they've got an adorable patio area to the side of the store, and they want to build that out a little bit more, and then we'll do a ribbon cutting probably outside where people can mix and mingle a little bit more. Wordsmith Bookshop will be doing their ribbon cutting when their doors are open. They've been members for a while now, coming to events, networking, so we're excited to support them when they finally open the doors. We had our golf tournament let's see, where are we now? That was the 13th. And it was a gorgeous day. It could not have gone any more smoothly. The golfers had a blast. We had additional after-hour attendees come and enjoy. drinks over at Hot Meadow Country Club and networking. We had fantastic raffle prizes from businesses in the area and silent auction prizes. For upcoming events, we have our July After Hours, which is with a local artist, Brendan O'Connell. So he has turned his residence in Simsbury essentially into a gallery of his work. So if anyone has stopped in the Chamber of Commerce office, you'll see a portrait done of my dog Dolly, and he's done a variety of dog portraits from the area. They're really, really popular. We know how Simsbury loves their dogs. And so he'll have plenty of those examples, as well as beautiful murals that he's done for all sorts of corporations and residents. So if you register, then you'll receive a confirmation with that address, but it's not obviously broadcasted because it's Brendan's home. For August 23rd, we have a sip and shop over at the Farmington Valley Shops in Canton, and we're really excited for that. We're going to essentially start at one location. We're still developing the event, but we'll have a passport, and then a variety of the businesses within the shops will have, drink specials, food specials, coupons. So people, the group will be able to kind of roam around the shops and see what they have to offer. And then we'll probably end up over at 110 Grill or a place like that for more networking. And then a couple more big community events coming up. So Celebrate Granby has always been the signature event for the Granby Chamber of Commerce. And now that we've merged and it's a much more regional reach in the area, this is now called Celebrate the Valley. So that event is September 22nd through the 25th over at Salmon Brook Park in Granby. And we're beyond excited to be a part of this event. We have so many Granby businesses, Simsbury businesses. There's a carnival, fireworks, full spread in terms of fall festival. So we're really, really psyched about that. And then lastly, I'll end it on there and not take up any more time. We're coming back with our spectacular celebration over at the Performing Arts Center. That location is just superb for having an event of this kind. Of course, it's Halloween themed, and we're not going to do the drive-through this year. That caused a traffic headache for everyone this past year. So now we'll be all in the park. It'll be nice and contained and efficient and convenient. But everyone can expect food trucks, games, student band performances, and essentially a giant trick-or-treating festival. So we're excited about that. And that is October 16th. Thank you so much.
Has Mark Scully talked to you about the sustainability / clean energy task force participating in that spectacular?
Yes, he has. And we're really excited to have a whole portion of the event kind of highlighting those opportunities and some electric vehicles on site for everyone to kind of see up close.
Yeah, good. Okay, good. Thanks. Any questions for Morgan? Other than thanks for the update, appreciate it. Next, Ron, any updates on zoning?
Well, George went through most of it. Maybe a couple things I could add. And let's see, the cannabis, some things that were discussed in that is that the zoning is leaning towards having maybe just one, issuing one shop license. There isn't a restriction that's given by the state. We could have 20 of them. But they're kind of focusing on having just one in B3 zones, which would be up on the shopping centers, up by Avon there in the corner where the theater was and all that area. Not actually sure where it'll end up. It's just kind of preliminary discussion. The other thing on the Hot Meadow Apartments, they are 100% leased out on the residential. They have a couple commercial spaces, and actually one of the things they did last night, they're supposed to have those commercial spaces complete and before they get released for 100% of the apartment units, and they requested from zoning that they can go to the full 100% residential before they get the commercial spaces done, because they're telling us they have having a difficulty getting anybody to rent, but we really don't know what the requirements are in their lease, how much they're expecting the leaseholders to provide for build out or what their rents are. In any case, they're telling us that they have nobody in the wings to lease those buildings, which not sure why. Kind of an aside, after the zoning meeting, because we had like one of the first ones I've been to in a couple of years, I think. One of the zoning commissioners I was talking with, and he was kind of like, "Hey, you guys in Economic Development Commission, how come, can you drive any economic development to some of these places that are having difficulties? He's kind of trying to pin me down. What are you guys doing over there?" I know our charter is more focused on what the Board of Selectmen gives us for running directions. But he was seemed a little bit frustrated that we have an Economic Development Commission and we don't really seem to be focused on bringing in new businesses, which I know a lot of other towns do. So just to comment on that. I think that's it. Otherwise, all the new properties and everything, you got a great presentation on that already. So
good. Thanks for the update. Design review. We've not had any meetings in the last month or so nothing to report there. Sustainability. We continue to assemble our materials, if you will, for the application for our town. The application for our certification is due in August, and we're meeting every month to start to pull that all together. And as I also mentioned, we'll be participating in the Spooktacular with the chamber to highlight a lot of the clean energy capabilities, not just automotive, but housing as well, for people in Simsbury to take a look at, see if we can help drive some of that. Any update from the DEI Council?
Pardon me, Bob?
Yeah, update DEI.
Yeah, I attended their their full meeting last week, I think it was, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council. They've got 4 subcommittees. One does events, and they were focusing on the Juneteenth celebration and had done a lot of work on that. Housing presentation. They're actually, there was a presentation a couple of weeks ago. George was part of it. There were 3 presenters and George was one of them. And I thought it was a really useful, informative presentation. I actually watched it on the website, but I think anybody interested in the housing situation in Simsbury should watch that presentation. It was very useful. They have a data subcommittee that's has done a survey evaluating the results of that survey, but they need more input on the survey, more people responding to the survey, so they're going to work on that. But it was a good meeting. Must have been probably 10 people there, and there's various subcommittees meet periodically to go over those various issues.
Okay, thanks. And Tom, anything new on the development project? I know the one we're kind of tracking is Barber's Cove there on off of Iron Horse. Not much is going on. So
I go by it every day, and not much going on.
Yeah.
For the last probably 6 to 8 months. I'm not sure when the action is going to start there, but once it does, I'll get involved in it. Okay,
very good. Thanks. Okay, moving on to our work plan. Brooke and Charmaine are unable to attend, and Sarah's not here as well. So I don't have any.
Here.
Charmaine, you're here. Great.
You
snuck in.
Well, I was like 4 minutes late, so sorry I didn't say
I was looking across the top and I didn't see. I guess I should have scrolled over. Any updates on the marketing material refresh?
No, because I thought Sarah was going to be here, and she sent just an email. I'm sure you probably got it also, just like whenever.
Yep.
Late today, saying 5 o'clock, saying she wasn't going to be there. So, that's all I know.
Okay.
Because she's the one really talking to Jeff all the time. It's really, I'm assuming everybody's still working on everything that needs to be worked on.
Okay. Okay.
So sorry for that.
No problem. Good enough. Thanks. We touched a little bit on the business outreach. The list that George reviewed is what we've been doing over the last several months, primarily as a way to introduce George to the business community. And I think those have gone very well. I really like the fact that the diversity of businesses that we've had participate in that, from single ownership like the West Street liquor store to Brian DeVoe there at Fitzgerald's, to Mark Mitchell at Mitchell Auto. So we're good, and plus everybody at EBAD and Ensign Bickford. So good variety and a good feedback, and that everybody was able to participate who wanted to participate in those. So we'll continue those. Tom Fitzgerald has continued to coordinate some of those visits as they get set up. I will send a note out to everybody so that those who would like to participate, and if we have seats available at the table, we'll make sure everybody gets included in those going forward. The next one is the welcome letter. Carrie, you and I had talked about doing that. I put your name down here to work on that. Just want to confirm that you're okay running with that. I'd be more than happy to help out.
Absolutely. Now that rugby season's over and I'm done coaching, you have my full attention. So I'm looking forward to working on that.
Okay, good.
And just, Bob, let me just chime in really quick. That was an idea that I thought was just so fantastic when I first came to the chamber, because I kind of thought that there was a piece missing in that way for new businesses. So if you guys want any sort of help at all, whether it's brainstorming or part of the execution of that, then the chamber would love to participate. Great.
And we will definitely take you up on your offer. My sense here is the author of this letter will be Wendy and Maria as the first selectman and town manager. So keep it separate from Main Street, keep it separate from the chamber, but obviously there'll be a lot of overlap. And so to the extent we kind of coordinate that effort to make sure that we get that coordination done properly, that'd be very, very helpful. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Even just including the various organizations and associations and departments as resources.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, good. Thanks. We talked about the shadow program for development projects, supporting entrepreneurs, creating updates to economic development portions of the town official website. Brooke, Charmaine, any updates there? Brooke was unable to make it tonight.
She's driving, but she said she'll hop on in a minute.
Okay.
Charmaine hopped off. I have not connected with them directly on this. I don't know if they've had a chance to sort of start just sort of that audit of the website pages that as we discussed, I think back in the spring. But I will connect with them directly to make sure we get some structure around that process.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Melissa. Appreciate it.
So Bob, can I just ask on that, since my name's in the block there? We have been trying to, or a couple of different avenues, and I think it finally came down to just giving a place for commercial lease owners to, not lease owners, commercial landlords to have a clearinghouse for their properties. I think we're kind of holding off until the new website was being done and making that part of it. I don't know if that's still part of the plan or what's happening, because it's really kind of, we haven't really done anything on it at all, other than I thought that was the last, our last kind of direction was just to wait until that got implemented into the website. I don't know if that's being done or what.
So you're referring to the proposal the chamber put together around the co-working space?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, about one of the last things I remember, because we haven't really discussed it probably in I don't know, 6 months, was to provide potentially provide a clearinghouse list for landlords to provide what spaces they had available. So it would be a place for entrepreneurs to look. Obviously the commercial real estate agents are kind of driving that, but I don't know. I guess there was a thought that having a more open website for landlords to put it up there would be beneficial. There was some concerns about who was going to maintain it, because you can't just leave it open and not have someone looking at what's actually going up there, approving it or whatever. So I don't really know where that ended up.
We, Morgan had actually presented to Wendy Max-Dudas, the first selectman, the proposal several months ago, with the hope of trying to get secure funding to allow us to build that out. And I don't think it actually got the funding approved in the budget. And so it's, and I think the other issue that occurred around that was at the time, the timing of all of this, because at the time we were looking at, there was some open space in with the property managers, and there was some support for the property managers to do this. And I think since then, some of the spaces has become occupied. So less than enthusiastic about it as maybe they were a year ago. So I think it's kind of one of those great ideas. It's kind of sitting out there. I don't know if we ever will get funding for it. There may be some other alternative ways to approach it.
Okay, so a web space database is no longer part of the plan. So we're really not doing anything with that, supporting entrepreneurs that I know.
At this point, correct. Morgan, anything to add?
Not particularly. I do think it's a little unfortunate we weren't able to move ahead with it. To your point, Bob, it was very timely in that moment, but that's not to say it wouldn't still be necessary and relevant as we go on. But we've been talking about it. The presentation was made. I think it was put together pretty well. So it was kind of one of those things we need to jump and do it, and then we'll find limitless ways to utilize it moving forward. But if we keep sitting on it, then those opportunities will keep passing us by, essentially.
Yeah.
And we have the URL. It's simsburyworks.com, org, all of that. So it's purchased.
So I guess the only thing that I had mentioned before, when there was a discussion about building a database for it, there are some commercial databases that actually provide that service for free. There's one called LoopNet. What they do is they give you like a very minimal amount, your square footage and a couple of things you can put down. And then they try to get you to, if you want to have photos and layouts and stuff, then you have to subscribe to it. I had mentioned that, instead of reinventing that it might be an option to maybe make people aware of that. The landlords, I don't know if all commercial landlords are aware of that resource. If it's something maybe even just to make a note on the website or have a discussion with LoopNet, how we could guide our landlords in Simsbury to maybe take advantage of that free resource. Otherwise, we're doing nothing.
It's called LoopNet.
Loop, LOOP, LoopNet.
LoopNet. Okay.
It's part of I think a larger, I forgot what the other portion of it is. That's, I believe, the free site. Then they have a subscription site that they'll try to get you into if you want to put a lot more info. But, it gives you the basics. You got 800 square feet on the second floor or whatever, part of, you can get minimal amount of information. At least it gets people aware that there's space out there.
Okay, we can take a look at that. All right, thanks, Ron. Anything else on the work plan? Okay, before we adjourn, any other topics to discuss? Any issues anybody has?
I had just a quick question. It kind of was in my head while George was speaking, the issue of trying to connect local talent and business owners who are hiring. I was kind of thinking, and while you guys were discussing that database too, it sounded to me throughout the conversation, there were at least 3 different discrete needs of kind of business owners when it comes to connecting. It was the finding commercial tenants over at the new housing development, trying to connect with people who are local for employees. And it sounds like also business resources or open spaces commercially, but also for apartments. So with a lot of different kind of needs there, is that maybe something that we can think about with kind of the website development and potential database? Is there a way to kind of almost make it a forum site or something and allow people to post and just organize their categories for them, instead of, having like paying to have a person maintain all this, allowing people to put the information on there themselves?
Yeah, we had that discussion. You need a moderator, because you never know what kind of spaces you're going to end up with if you don't have anybody watching it. So that was part of the issue. That's kind of why I brought up, if there's any of these other free sites. There's probably one for residential, I would imagine, where if maybe instead of, like I said, trying to reinvent the wheel and have a moderator and do it, we point to the direction of these resources that people can use. And then maybe we contact these resources and try to, get the landlords to utilize them better. So we're driving people to that available resource and not have to maintain it. But I agree with you. There needs to be some way to advertise what we have available.
Yeah, that's what the high level purpose of that database and website is it would have essentially a dozen potential uses for now and in the future as needed to be developed. So, our thinking was to have resources on new businesses in town, on, guides that were, applicable for businesses doing renovations, information on town departments, Main Street would be on there, Chamber of Commerce. So all the resources businesses would need found in one place, which would include potentially listing spots for, vacancies for commercial offices, things like that. But also, I think your suggestion is great. A forum where people could post those job openings. Right now, that's done primarily on Facebook, from what I've seen, on a local level, and that's very hit and miss. You get some discussion that shouldn't be there. So I think if something like that was held on a forum like this, that was a more closed and controlled, that it would be a more appropriate way to advertise those opportunities. And I don't think that the moderation would be that intensive. So the presentation that we had shown Wendy, and I believe Heather, was Amber on that call as well? I can't quite remember who's on that call, but essentially the presentation shows that it would be handled, or rather managed, by our marketing director. So she would just develop the website. She has the capability of that. She's, certified in coding and all of those things that I have no clue about. And then she would just very high level manage the content, make sure things were appropriately uploaded, things like that. And other than that, we are just serving as the connector. The website's just a connector. It doesn't handle payment for, space leasing. It doesn't handle, filling out applications. If it's a job opening, it's essentially just that opportunity to connect people together to continue the growth that they're looking for.
Tourism map was the other thing that was going to be a part of that, which I think would be very, very helpful. The other comment I wanted to make was, now that I'm retired, I get these emails about job opportunities in Simsbury, which, I'm not too interested in. But I like a lot of things in my email, I just delete and go on. But I need to capture, because I don't know who's sending that out. And next one I get, I'll distribute it to other people so we can kind of track down where that's coming from. So that'll be that's a to-do for me.
Yeah,
we have a spot for our members to post those things on the website, but we don't do specific emails about it. So I'm not sure who's.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a blast. It's just goes out to, I don't know where they're getting the distribution list from that I'm on it. So I'll track that down.
Because the immediate thing I thought with the welcome letter was exactly that kind of, web sources all put together in one space. Right. And that's actually kind of one of my duties at work now. It's not this kind of website, but it's building a policy and procedure library and just kind of, getting everything together, making sure that things are linked and working and that sort of thing. So yeah, the first thing I thought of was some sort of website, and it sounds like that's still a need. It's just at this point, funding and willingness to throw some resources at it.
Yeah.
Sorry, just trying to get caught up.
Okay.
Question
But
since
you-
obviously, obviously funding's an issue. Is it an option on this website to sell advertising space? But, you mentioned things like, a place where people could look for contractors for renovation, or maybe, employment, whatever. Getting some sponsors to put up their logos and contact information on there for a fee. A lot of websites do that. I don't know if that's something that would be beneficial here. It's a lot of work. Now you need Salesforce and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. That's something the chamber is already kind of doing. And
Yeah, that one's tricky, but that's exactly how Angie's List started. And Craigslist was something like that too, where you start off with that crowdsource and then narrow it. But yeah, just thinking about it.
Yeah, because it's very
the original the original idea was supposed to just provide a free service. So it was essentially to benefit businesses that were interested in working in Simsbury. So it was supposed to be that kind of added opportunity just for being a part of the business community in the area. But to your point, I mean, if we can't get funding any other way, but yeah, that would add on quite a bit of actual work to the chamber other than just, monitoring the upload of office space and job openings. That's so minimal. But when you're looking to, for sponsorships and things like that, we've already got a full slate of sponsorship things that we're looking for throughout the year.
Yeah, it'd have to generate real income for you, I guess, to be worthwhile.
So
the resources it needs to run it, but
or have it be something doesn't need that much, because you can have registration without necessarily payment, because payment is where it gets difficult and tricky, and especially even security wise. But yeah, it sounds like private, or not private, but sponsors and donors are going to be the way to get it done in the end. So
unless Maria can find a way to, wiggle out some money for us. She has a magic wand that she's able to.
we try to be supportive. But this
mattress.
Yeah. But this idea of, I think this concept of maybe finding some way to maybe connect employers and job seekers, given some of those needs that, George was speaking, about, that we've definitely heard from some of our area employers. I know Morgan has spoken about that in the past as well. And I don't know how much time Carrie and Ron, you guys have in the next couple of weeks, but, since Morgan was very kind and has offered, to maybe help with this concept, if you guys could perhaps connect and maybe just sort of explore this idea, I'm really jazzed listening to you guys kind of brainstorm and talk about it, and just maybe see, what kind of ideas you guys might be able to generate, or, sort of concepts in terms of how we might be able to make that work. Because again, I think there could be some real value in it. And I really like the idea. I think you guys are onto something.
Good.
Okay. Of doing paid sponsors for it. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I would maybe steer away from that a little bit, particularly if it's something ultimately that was town-based or housed, that could be challenging for us, perhaps under existing ethics code or some other challenges. But I think just, again, maybe exploring this concept of, how we might be able to connect employers with job seekers. I think you guys might be onto something with that.
All right, I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bob, several months ago, you and I were asked to do a survey of businesses about whether they'd be interested in a jobs fair. And
oh, yes.
we called several businesses and got a lot of responses back. And then I'm not sure what happened after that. We submitted that to somebody.
It was with Morgan.
And maybe
it was a request through Morgan that the businesses here were thinking about having a job fair, and we were trying to gauge interest. And so we did call a number of different businesses, and we submitted that information to Morgan. And I assumed it just didn't go anywhere. I think the timing wasn't real good as well.
I mean, the timing was great, but everything else fell through. So I had been in communication with several towns and chambers of commerce that have put together those types of job fairs, and they would always have a great turnout with the businesses, and then they weren't able to get anyone to show up to actually apply.
Yeah.
So the more I thought about it, the more my board discussed it. We just thought, we really don't want to take them away from their storefronts, running their businesses for a day or, however long we put on this event, and then no one shows to actually fill those spots. So we were seeing that there was still a lot of insecurity in terms of whether qualified applicants would even show up for that event, because online people were certainly struggling, and the in-person events that I was aware of, they were still having that same problem. So we essentially didn't want to waste anyone's time. So the need was there, but we weren't confident that we would be able to fill that need through a job fair, unfortunately.
Yeah, the unemployment rate's too low at the moment, or at least the people willing to work aren't there.
If the businesses do have a clear idea of their population, at least, I was just thinking, all my, I work at the high school as well as my day job, and just how many of, my girls are going out and trying to find jobs, don't know where to look, even on Facebook, tons of parents saying, hey, my kid's looking for summer work. What if that kind of job fair was narrowed to really local, in terms of maybe having something like that at the high school, or possibly something like that, because all the kids that come home from the college kids that come home, the high school kids that are looking for stuff, and even the families, it's the best way to usually communicate with the people is through kind of the schools. That's how you actually, get messages to the people who live and work here.
Yeah, most
That's
of the
a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, our education committee used to do something similar to that years ago that was very successful. And it's something that we had been discussing bringing back up. So I'd love to be in touch outside of this and kind of talk about how we can pick that up and maybe get the whole committee focused on that.
Because especially if we're looking at that angle of trying to hone local talent, I know the job market is hotter in a lot of time for those high paying, well-qualified positions. They're looking for remote. They're not necessarily looking for local, but the people who are looking to grow and develop who are local are usually our younger members. So if we can start kind of helping them plug into local businesses and having local businesses benefit from, those kind of workers and investing in our local talent, that could be.
Yeah, until we get a fair up and going, if you ever have anyone that passes by that is looking for something like that, send them over to the visitor center, which is the chamber office, because we get our members in all the time telling us, especially for these new businesses that are opening that we're doing the ribbon cuttings for, we know the employment needs for those businesses. So we're happy to connect the dots, and we've, certainly, got a lot of people connected that way.
Great, thanks. Okay, anything else? All right. Any other topics to discuss? Any other issues? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn?
How about next meeting? Are we doing a July?
So our next meeting would be in August.
August. Okay, it's like that. Right. Okay. Motion to adjourn then.
Okay. Second.
Second.
Tom. Then all in favor of adjourning the meeting?
Aye.
I think we're all good.